Hi everyone! It's already December and I know we're all excited. Let me be the first one to greet you. Merry Christmas! And of course, welcome to Davao Evangelical Church Online Sunday School. Today's story, we are going to hear about our missionary Paul. You know, Paul has been through so many things, but he remained faithful and strong in his love, faith, and service to God. What kept Paul going? Come and join us in today's Sunday School and let's learn about Paul together.
Let your light shine before men, they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Let your light shine before men, yeah. Let your light shine before men. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Let your light shine before men, they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Let your light shine before men, yeah. Let your light shine before men. Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Let your light shine before men, yeah. Let your light shine before men. Let your light shine before men, yeah. Let your light shine before men. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Teacher RJ, and I'm so happy to be with you today. Welcome to our Sunday school. But before we go to our story, I'd like to ask you, was there a time when you were really scared or afraid? Example, was there a time when you saw a big spider right in front of you? Or when you were just walking down the road and you saw a snake going towards your direction? Wow. Or was there a time when you're inside the car and it rained so hard that when you looked out the window, you see the water flood getting higher and higher? Yeah. Or is there a time when you were just in your house chilling at night and suddenly a loud thunderstorm rattled and shook your whole house? Wow, were you scared or afraid? Wait, did you pray to God when you were probably very scared? Now, our story today is about Paul. Paul was often in situations where he was probably very scared. But even when he was afraid, Paul knew that God would take care of him. He could do anything if God was with him. That's why our memory verse for today is found in Philippians 4:13. Very familiar verse. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Again, Philippians 4:13. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Now let's go to our story. Are you ready? All right, let's go. The Apostle Paul was a prisoner who was guarded by soldiers. Even though he was a prisoner, Paul was not actually guilty of breaking any law. He was in trouble because some people did not like him teaching about Jesus. Some Jewish leaders in Jerusalem had become so angry about this that they told lies about Paul and even tried to kill him. They called Paul a troublemaker. The Roman officials did not like it when people caused trouble, so they arrested Paul. Over 2 years of being a prisoner in the city of Caesarea and appearing before 2 different governors and even a king, no one could find Paul guilty of breaking any law. Still, they kept him in prison. As time passed, Paul knew that he would never get a fair trial. But Paul knew that there was a special law that said a Roman citizen who thought they were having an unfair trial could ask to travel to Rome and appear in court before the emperor of Rome, Caesar. Then Caesar could decide what was fair. The time had come for Paul to use his right as a Roman citizen. Even though the trip would be dangerous, Paul told the governor that he wanted to go to Rome and appear before Caesar. Rome was in Italy and was a long way from the city of Caesarea, where Paul had been kept prisoner. Paul would have to go by ship. Since Paul was a prisoner, a Roman centurion soldier had to guard him at all times. The centurion assigned to Paul was called Julius, and he would be traveling with Paul on the ship. One of the first stops along the way was a place called Myra. In Myra, Paul and his centurion guard changed to a different ship. Soon after this, the seas became very rough. Everyone was becoming nervous. Some men on board began to think that they should stop the ship in a harbor somewhere and wait until the winter storms had passed. Finally, the ship made it to a place called Fair Havens. Paul thought that this would be a good place to stop and spend the winter. It would be dangerous for everyone on board if they continued. Even though Paul warned everyone that going on would be a disaster, no one listened. After all, Paul was not in charge of the ship. He was just a prisoner. The owner of the ship, the pilot, and others agreed that they should try and sail to another port nearby called Phoenix. They thought the ship could make it through the storms, so they set off. But soon everything began to go wrong, just like Paul had warned. A hurricane struck, and the winds became very strong. It was so strong the sailors on the ship thought the boat might blow over and sink. They tried tying ropes around the boat to keep it from breaking apart. They threw all the cargo overboard to make the ship lighter. As a last resort, they even collected all the ropes and parts that made the ship work, and they threw them into the sea too. This was a disaster. As the storm continued for many days and nights, almost everyone on the ship thought the ship would go down into the sea. Everyone would die. But there was one person on the ship who had hope, and that person was Paul. Paul knew the truth from God because an angel had come to him with a message. After they had gone many days without food, Paul said to everyone on the ship, "Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail. I told you there would be disaster. But don't worry, keep up your courage. Last night an angel came to me and told me that not one person on the ship will be lost. Only the ship will be destroyed. The ship will have to run aground on an island, but no one aboard will die." Paul continued, "The angel told me that I should not be afraid because God will keep me safe all the way to Rome. And believe me, what God says through an angel is true. You can always trust God." But some of the sailors did not believe Paul. When they saw an island in the distance, they tried to take the lifeboat and sneak away with it. Paul saw what was happening and told his guards that if the sailors left, then no one could be saved. So, when the sailors had lifted the lifeboat over the side of the ship, the soldiers cut all the ropes and let the lifeboat fall into the sea. Through all of this, Paul continued to trust God. There was a little food left on the ship, so Paul gathered everyone together
and told them that he would pray and then they should all eat together. Finally, everyone began to listen to Paul. The next morning, everyone could see some land in the distance. They did not know it, but the land was the island of Malta. When the ship hit a sandbar and began to break apart, everyone panicked. Some of the soldiers even wanted to kill Paul and the other prisoners so they would not escape. But Julius, the centurion soldier, knew Paul would not escape. Paul had been trying to help them all along. Julius stopped the soldiers and kept Paul safe. Paul told everyone to stay calm. He reminded them that God would keep them safe. So those who could swim jumped in the water and swam for shore. Those who could not swim grabbed into floating wood from the ship and held onto it until they reached the shore. And things happened just as Paul had said. The angel was right. Not one person from the ship died. Even after the terrible storm and all of the dangers, everyone was safe. Not one person drowned. But the amazing events did not stop there. Everyone was cold, so they began gathering wood and building a fire on the beach. When Paul reached for one piece of wood, he did not know that a venomous snake was underneath it. The snake bit Paul, and Paul shook it off into the fire. The people kept watching Paul because they thought he would die from the snake's poisonous venom. That is what had always happened when people on the island were bitten by these types of snakes. But Paul did not die. He was not even sick. Everyone was amazed at this miracle. The people on the island of Malta took care of Paul and everyone on the ship for 3 months. During that time, Paul did other miracles in the name of Jesus. He healed an official's father from a fever and cured many other people from their illnesses. Through all of this, everyone got to hear about Jesus and know that he is the Son of God. Finally, the time came for the centurion and Paul to leave the island of Malta and head for Rome. The people of Malta gave them food and supplies and said goodbye. An angel told Paul that he would arrive in Rome safely, but the angel was not the first to say this. Almost 3 years earlier, Jesus himself had come to Paul's prison cell in the night to tell Paul that he would be going to Rome to tell the people there the good news of Jesus. After stopping in a few more places, Paul finally arrived in Rome. The trip had been very long and dangerous, but Paul trusted what Jesus had told him. Paul remained strong and had always known that he would make it to Rome safely, and he did.
So in spite of all the trials and dangers that Paul faced, he finally reached Rome safely. And that's all because of God's protection upon him. And Paul knew God would take care of him, and he trusts God for his protection. And finally, he arrived at Rome. In spite of all the floods, all the near deaths he had, Paul knew God was with him. Amazing story about God's protection. So these are review questions. First, why did Paul sail to Rome? Answer, to go to a trial with Caesar as the judge. Second question, what happened to the ship Paul was on? It crashed on the rocks near an island. Number 3, how many people died on the ship? Answer, not one person died. All of them survived. 4, when Paul was gathering firewood on the island, what happened to him? Answer, a poisonous snake bit him, but he did not die.
shipwreck, a snake bite, on top of all the other things Paul have been through. What kept him going? In Acts 27:25, Paul said, "So keep your courage, men, for I have faith in God that it will happen just as he told me." Paul had faith in God. Paul believed that God will be with him through anything and everything, and that gave him strength and hope to continue serving. As God was with Paul through shipwreck, through angry mob, through snakebite, God is also with you. God will be with you through hardships. So when God says, "I will be with you," believe that He will be with you. Remember, kids, the God who was with Paul and the God we pray to and believe in is the same true God. That's it for our online Sunday school. Again, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas, kids. And I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.